Hey everyone, we are very welcome back again as we continue our Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. As you know, we're highlighting this issue of the accusations of intimidation against us, the Brady family and Aaron, in relation to the investigation and the case of the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. Now, as you can see here, we're now showing this fictional story created by the DPP and on Garda Síochána. And we've highlighted a number of issues so far, and we're keeping a score on who's intimidating who. And as you can see, as we stand at the moment, intimidation of witnesses by the authorities 3, intimidation by the Bradys 0. Now we're going to move on probably to the most significant event that took place during the course of Aaron's trial, and how it has been portrayed and manipulated both by the authorities and most certainly by the mainstream media. And you'll have to bear with us here. There's quite a bit to it, it's quite intensive, but we're going to be looking at the issue of, you can see it here, Adrian Donoghue verdict. WhatsApp video was the most outrageous contempt of court. So very briefly, for those of you who don't know, a short clip of a gentleman giving his statement to Garda Síochána in relation to Aaron was released on WhatsApp. And this has been used as a battering ram against Aaron and the Bradys continuously ever since. So I suppose a brief outline is, as you can see there up again, the most outrageous contempt of court. This was said by Judge Michael White. Now, Judge Michael White did not reiterate these words when a man attacked a young woman who was giving evidence, giving her testimony from a kitchen in America. He didn't use these words. But this was very carefully selected, choreographed and used against both Aaron and, of course, our family in the ongoing media snowstorm. So first thing I want to mention very quickly is, we go back to Judge Michael White. When this WhatsApp video was released initially onto the social media, Senior Defence Counsel Michael O Higgins, Aaron's senior barrister, stood up and told Judge White that this was totally detrimental to Aaron's case. It was of no advantage to Aaron Brady. In fact, it was the complete opposite. And that the solicitors, Aaron's solicitors, had spoken to this gentleman 2 weeks prior to the release. Now, this is very important because Judge Michael White never questioned that for one moment, that this release of this video may be detrimental to Aaron's case, which of course anyone who has been following the case will see the way the media have portrayed it, and indeed senior members of Garda Síochána have portrayed it. It is a total weapon used against us, the Bradys. So first of all, I'm just going to bring up here alongside me, this is a text message my daughter received, and this is from the gentleman on the video. Tell your dad to call me, and obviously that's the telephone number. And this is Lorraine's phone. Will do, 12 p.m. your time suit, okay. He says maybe later, and Lorraine asks what time suits you, around 2 p.m. and Lorraine says dead on, I'll let him know, he'll call you then. So very, very clearly here, the person who we allegedly, and the mainstream media have said this and the authorities have said this, the mainstream media have said all these things, the person who was in the video is actually asking to contact us. So, and again, it's a very important point to mention here too, nobody, not one person, has made any form of complaint against the Bradys in relation to intimidation. That too is telling, not one person. And that's why our score is at 0. Because we haven't intimidated anyone. So this is a very important point to look at here, that this gentleman actually wanted to speak to us. He initiated the conversations, and those conversations are very telling. But first, I'm going to bring up on the screen here, this is a document that was created by our solicitor, an affidavit, and it gives some details of Detective Inspector Mark Phillips, his interaction with this young man who we call Roe. And I'm just going to have to read through this for you because there's some very interesting bits of information on it. D.I. Phillips met Roe on August 31st, 2017 at his place of work. He asked Roe was he willing to be interviewed by Garda Síochána. Roe agreed and an appointment was made the following day, September the 1st. Roe subsequently cancelled the meeting. In October 2017, Garda Síochána members returned to New York hoping to interview Roe. If he was willing, i.e. had changed his mind, on arrival they were apparently informed by Homeland Security they had discovered an immigration issue affecting Roe. They had a warrant for his arrest. HSI informed Detective Phillips that once the matters in relation to the warrant had been processed and Roe would be asked if he wished to speak to members of Garda Síochána. So again, we see very clearly there, folks, that Roe had issues in America. There was warrants pending. But it gets a little bit more sinister than that. We're going to move on down through the paragraphs. Upon arrest, and just as I mentioned that here, I'm just going to play a little clip now that we've seen on a number of occasions. Here we go.
Witnesses were found who had crucial evidence in the case.
There was approximately 5 persons who came forward with information.
Now, this is another part of the Pat Murray fallacy in relation to this investigation. We've always questioned approximately 5 people. The man didn't even know how many people came forward because no people came forward. Molly Staunton was doorstepped. Daniel Cahill was pulled out of an attic. And now we have a man, Roe, arrested. And we'll go into more details about his arrest as we go through this video. Upon arrest, Roe was agreeable to be interviewed, but wanted proof that Garda Síochána were present in New York. The Detective Sergeant Gill, as he is now, who knew Roe, travelled to the point of arrest and confirmed to Garda Síochána presence. It is perhaps noteworthy that this was done before matters in relation to the processing of the warrant had been done. So, Roe, after being arrested for whatever issues he had in America and for his extradition warrant we'll come to, seen this detective, or he was a guard at the time, Paul Gill. And this becomes very important as we go into the next part of the next few paragraphs. It appears that Roe was released after being interviewed. So here we go again. We've a man with an extradition warrant, some serious drugs issues, and he's been released relatively quickly. Some of the paperwork is very sketchy, and a lot of the paperwork has been redacted by the authorities on both sides of the Atlantic, which again should raise serious concerns for anyone looking for any form of justice. This was unusual. Roe was a fugitive. A European arrest warrant had been issued with respect to an alleged offence under Section 4 of the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Persons Act. The offence had been alleged to have taken place in October 2011 when Roe had allegedly attacked a man in a bar and smashed a snooker ball into his face. It would appear that members of the investigating team were unaware of the charge and only learned when it was brought to their attention in November 20 that a warrant for the arrest of Roe was outstanding. Now, if we go back to a paragraph or so where I mentioned Detective Paul Gill. Gill was involved in Ronan's arrest, definitely for the drugs offences here in Carlingford, and quite possibly in relation to the assault of a doorman. So there's lies being told here immediately. They're telling us here, I'll bring that up again. This was unusual. A European arrest warrant had been issued with respect to an alleged offence, Section 4 of the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Persons Act. The offence took place, it would appear that members of the investigation team were unaware of the charge and only learned of it when it was brought to their attention. Someone's telling lies here. the authorities are telling lies. Or else, or it could be a combination of both. If we go back to Pat Marry's revelations in the podcast Making a Detective, where the investigation room was a complete and utter shambles. And here they are in America, allegedly arresting someone with a European arrest warrant. I would suggest, and I hope our friends in America are watching this, yous were led down a garden path. They were, Gill and Phillips was pulling the wool over your eyes. They were hoping to get in contact with Roe, and yous would not be aware of the arrest warrant. It's as simple as that. There can be no other explanation for this type of behaviour. Absolutely none. So that's coercion, manipulation and intimidation immediately. As soon as Gill got into the back of the black SUV with Roe, that was intimidation. That brings our score now to intimidation of witnesses by the authorities 4, intimidation of witnesses by the Bradys 0. So we'll move on now. I'm just going to bring up, this is a communication I had with Roe, and this is his version of what took place. They arrested me at my job in front of a whole bar full of people. I lost my job and they held me in handcuffs with 7 cars of police, told me I was going home. I'll never see my wife and child again, on some bullshit about this gentleman that he allegedly attacked. Case that was taken fake paper, kept me handcuffed to the side of the cell, busted into my house with no warrant to search it, made an example of me over here, took my interview for my 10-year green card, and that cause I told them when I got the lawyer, I want my statement taken off this. It was forced, fake statement. The guard basically wrote it himself. And so for that, they took my file from immigration because I couldn't help them with the AB case. I was trying to expose them. So again, we have serious issues here. I remind you again of what Senior Investigating Officer Mr. Pat Marry said, that these people came forward. I remind you again of what Brendan Graham stood up and pontificated about on the floor of the court during the Court of Arras trial, that these were brave people who came forward, good law-abiding citizens who had concern for the family of the fallen Garda, came forward to give statements against Aaron Brady. So no harm to Pat Marry and Brendan Graham and Mark Phillips and Paul Gill. The story you peddled in court is complete bullshit. It is a litany of perjury. And that is what your case was built on. And this has always and ever turned our stomachs, what you have done here. And Judge Michael White had a lot of these details. The mainstream media have all the details of the attack, the assault and the drugs charges in Carlingford. And they can't say who they don't know who the man is, because there was a tape released on WhatsApp of him. So where is the mainstream media here? And we have to ask the question, and we've always asked this question. I know the video was released, but what difference did that make? The man was going to have to come and stand up in court in full public view to give his testimony anyway. So do you see how we're coming to a situation here now of who it favoured to release that video on WhatsApp? So we're going to continue now, and I'm going to bring up probably the most worrying aspect of this whole thing about intimidation. And this is the situation we find ourselves in. This is revelations here that myself and my family should be able to go to an Garda Síochána with, and we can't. Earlier this year, on the streets in New York, members of an Garda Síochána intimidated this young man again. How do we know that? I'm just going to bring up there on the screen, those two short videos that are there are videos of members of Garda Síochána intimidating and attempting to bully this young man inside the bar and on the street in New York. And you can see there in the middle where Roe says these people should be fired. So how do we know who these people are? Well, this is the text messages that accompanied the two videos or three videos we have that this young man sent. I met guards in the Mean Fiddler and they acted like kids, standing on my shoes. When I told them my name they wanted inside, so I told them to suck my dick and they left. And I'm going to bring up, this is another little group of messages here. That's him. Get him fired. This is none of his business. And his girl, provoking a witness. Take them to court. They said they would beat me up. Tell the media the Garda are trying to start a fight with me. So I don't know if it can be any simpler than that. There's more intimidation by members of Garda Síochána against this young man. So that brings our score now to intimidation of witnesses by the authorities 5, intimidation of witnesses by the Bradys 0. And we have covered this young man before. Little paragraphs going to pop up. These are transcripts from conversations I've had with this young man. And here we go, there's the first one up in front of me there. They said I was never going to see my daughter again. They were going to take me home and put me in jail. And I said, for what? They said, well, we have a warrant for you here. I said, what warrant? And they wouldn't show me. So immediately there's serious issues with the outstanding problems this young man had with the serious assault and the drugs. And those issues are being used as serious leverage against him to make false statements. It cannot be any simpler. We look at another paragraph. And they handcuffed me and everything. There were fucking like 10 cars, but nobody sees this. The only thing that was released was the video and this and this and that, but nobody sees what happens before that. So he's explaining to me there the issues he had when he was arrested at his place of work. Put into the back of an SUV with two members of Garda Síochána, and he was told, either you make this statement here or you're heading home. You'll never see your wife and child again. He repeats that continuously on the numerous interactions we've had with him. And then the final one. And then whenever Daddy said to them, they're like, so why did you arrest Roe from America and have him handcuffed to the car? They were like, oh, we never did that. And Daddy's like, well, there's a video of you arresting him in front of everybody at his job and taking him out. And I asked him, and did they deny that to your dad? Yeah, they denied it to Mummy and Daddy. Yeah. So the guards are obviously interacting with this young man's family and they're telling that family. And then we come to the release of the actual WhatsApp video. And we know that I was arrested. I went voluntarily into the barracks in Carrickmacross. And I met with the detectives there. And Detective Peter Woods, very obligingly, showed me a video of the court in Dublin of when this video, the WhatsApp video of this young man was released. And guess what? We were in the court, a court where there's no service. Aaron was in the court. So I must say thank you to Mr. Woods, Detective Woods. He cleared that point up. And it is our opinion, and it is the opinion of this young man here, that it was members of Garda Síochána released that video onto social media because they could not afford to or attempt to bring this man into court to give testimony. Apart from his whole background and his problems with drugs, both here in Carlingford and in America, and the issue of a serious assault charge, he obviously he could not have been a reliable witness even at that. But if this young man had to have the option to get up onto the stand, we would not be in the situation we're in today. They would have been shown for what they are. And I'm going to compare it again. This is a WhatsApp video released of a young man making a statement who is going to have to give a testimony anyway. And Judge Michael White allowed our judicial system, your judicial system, to have a young girl assaulted and her laptop slammed down while she's giving testimony against Aaron Brady in a situation and at a time when that girl was completely refusing to say that Aaron Brady said, "I shot a cop." She had accepted he was irritated, he was angry, because on Garda Síochána had gone down to Aaron's in-laws in Kerry and intimidated them. Told that family in Kerry that I was head of the IRA in South Armagh, had murdered people and had sanctioned murder. Another intimidation. So we now have intimidation by the authorities at 6, intimidation by the Brady family, 0. Where is the mainstream media? This information is in the public domain. And yous are peddling bullshit about a WhatsApp video that was released that could not have been released by us, according to Detective Peter Woods. None of yous have printed that. Schiller, Cummings, Reynolds, go and ask Detective Peter Woods, unless they're telling me lies in the station in Carrickmacross. So this whole fucking nonsense about a WhatsApp video and the Bradys holds no water, because it destroyed Aaron Brady's case and it only strengthened the prosecution case. They used it as a tool because they did not want that young man to give evidence, because he'd have blown Gill and Phillips out of the water. There's a video of him being arrested. And then the bullshit being peddled by Pat Murray that approximately 5 people came forward as he's sitting looking over a lake. Nobody came forward. It's all a tissue of lies. And we really, really need your help, the public, to stop this. Because every time we go over this again and get ready and get prepared to put it out there, we have to accept that our judicial system is rotten to the core. And those 5 people, I'll bring it up there again, saying that this is the worst case of contempt of court ever. Those people in that photograph in front of you now, they told you, the Irish public, that every one of the 5 people that murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue would be brought to justice. Where are they? We're 4 weeks away now from the 10th anniversary. And every one of those people, and including Inspector Beggy standing in the background, know exactly that the man incarcerated in Portlaoise prison for 40 years for the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue is not the man that had anything to do with that murder. He is not a man that had anything to do with the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And now it appears we have 2 other men going to court, hopefully in January. But at this moment in time, they're, as far as I know, charged with burglaries. Now, those charges may very well change when they get to court, I don't know. But at this moment in time, no one else has been charged with the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. And I hope you can see from what we are showing you here that these people in the white shirts and the likes of Beggy, Phillips and Murray have let their colleague down. and they've put a number of families through 10 years of misery. And I hope all the families are going to say, we've had enough of this. And we ask you, the public, please, once again, and thank you so much for all those people that are subscribing. It really does help. And we've spoken to some of the people that helped us with some of the technical stuff. We need the subscriptions to help with the algorithms. So please subscribe. It makes Aaron's channel stronger. We have serious issue with Twitter, Facebook, and indeed our website all being attacked. Why are these people attacking us? So once again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll continue. I think we have the score now at 6-0, and we will show that the Bradys never intimidated anyone, and we had no need to intimidate anyone. And please, we're asking you, the Irish public, do not allow this false narrative to be peddled in front of you, to create a narrative for upcoming cases. And if anyone wants to ask any questions about any of the intimidation, the WhatsApp video, the young man that was in the WhatsApp video and how he was intimidated, you're more than welcome to ask those questions. And we will respond as soon as is possible. Thank you again. Please keep watching. We have more issues with intimidation that we're going to show over the next week or two. And please continue to watch. Please share our videos. Please share Aaron's story. We're getting to a situation now where we need to put pressure on these people who have let everyone on this island down. And we'll see you again in the next video. Thank you once again, and talk to you all soon.